Hi, welcome back. So we're gonna just jump right into it. I think I finally found my schedule. Yes, I said that like a million times already that I found my schedule, but I haven't. I have no excuse for that, other than that I completely keep forgetting. And yeah, so I'm going to try and upload every week on either Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't have enough time to upload every day like other pod figures. But alright, let's jump right into it. Chapter 11. Don't be afraid to sing along to the rhythm of your heart. Midoriya was acting a little off recently. At least, that's what Shinso was thinking at lunchtime that Wednesday. For one, he had been listening to a lot of music. Midoriya had never struck Shinso as much as of a music lover, although the fact was true that they haven't known each other for that long. Shinso couldn't help but feel that it was odd that Midoriya was so entranced by whatever he was listening to. In gaps between lessons, he would listen to music, staring at the wall blankly, and then suddenly pull out a notebook titled Quirk Analysis before turning to a new page and frantically writing in it. All the while, his headphones were still firmly glued to his ears. Secondly, he started talking a lot more. Sure, this was a good thing, but Shinso wasn't too sure how he felt about it. It wasn't that he didn't want Midoriya to talk. It was quite the opposite, actually. It was that Shinso hadn't expected him to open up so quickly over the span of only a few days. He still refused to utter a word to anyone who wasn't named Shinso, Uraraka, Ira, or weirdly enough, President Mike. But the stutter was starting to fade from his voice. He no longer felt the need to hesitate before speaking and was gradually increasing in volume. But no, Shinso shouldn't have been including this factor in his mental list. This was probably the best thing that happened to Midoriya in a while, and Shinso wasn't about to question it. The third weird thing that happened that lunchtime. Uraraka and Ira didn't always sit with Midoriya and Shinso, so it wasn't that strange that the two of them were sitting by themselves. It was near the end of lunch, which was the best time to go there, because there were normally more spaces free and less social interaction was therefore required. However, this was not the case today. For some reason, a lot of the hall was still full when Midoriya and Shinso arrived. Consequently, they had to sit closer to the middle of the hall. The time went on. The awkward second years they had been forced to sit next left, leaving Midoriya to sigh audibly in relief as he gave up tucking his elbows in. That didn't last long, however, because the queue for food was still long and there were a few other spaces that sat relatively large group. That meant that the rest of their table was the perfect place for someone else to claim. "I found a table!" yelled an over-enthusiastic blonde, who didn't even bother checking if it would be okay with the general studies students as he plonked his tray down. Not on the other side like a normal person would, but instead right next to Shinso. "Hey, sorry for barging in," he apologized the redhead as he slid his tray next to the blonde's. "Doesn't matter," grumbled Shinso. "We're almost finished anyway." That was when things started to become, suspicious. Moments after, Shinso's mood got even worse due to the fact that he had just recognized this group of friends as students from Class 1A, the hero course he was supposed to be in. A girl with bright pink skin skipped over to the table, put her food down beside Midoriya and sat down. She waved at Shinso's shy friend and did a double take. "Hey!" she grinned, giving Midoriya finger guns. "Well, if it isn't..." She gave her a wide-eyed look, his noodles suspended halfway his mouth. The pink girl hesitated as if she had just remembered something. She clapped her hands and continued. "Uraraka's friend, hi!" Midoriya, who had looked like he was about to spontaneously combust, gave her a feeble wave in return and turned back to his food. "The mute friend?" frowned another guy, with the rather large elbows as he sat down beside Pink. They started muttering about how rude that was when the redhead stood up and waved to whoever was the last to join their group. "Hey, Bakugo! Over here!" Shinso didn't fail to notice the way Midoriya flinched. He immediately put his chopsticks down, not even signing a word to Shinso as he stood up to put away his tray. "Hey, where are you going?" Shinso frowned. Midoriya didn't even acknowledge him as he turned around. The hero student seemed a little confused too. That was when Midoriya came face to face with a spiky-haired blonde with deep red eyes. Shinso recognized him. It was that guy with the explosive hero costume from the week before, who Midoriya literally shrunk away from as he passed by. "Get out of my way, Deku!" snarled the hero student. Midoriya sidestepped instantly, his head down as he weaved as quickly as possible through the crowd with his tray. It wasn't long before he was out of sight. Shinso stared at him. Yeah, there was definitely a story there. "Deku?" repeated Shinso. Bakugo glared at him as if he couldn't believe some lowlife from general studies was even talking to him. He didn't say a word in reply. Shinso got to his feet and marched to the other side of the table, where Bakugo sat down opposite of the redhead. "Why did my friend just abandon his food and ran off at the mention of your name?" "How am I supposed to know?" sneered Bakugo, who was rather focused on adding as much chili to his food as humanly possible. "I don't know," frowned the redhead. "They seemed rather freaked out by you, man. You know each other or something?" Shinso had never seen someone close a bottle of sauce with such menace. "He's a quirkless wimp who I knew from middle school, who likes to turn tail and run from everyone and everything. Anything else you'd like me to know, or I can eat my damn food in peace," Bakugo snapped. It took a moment for things to click in place in Shinso's mind. He knew him in middle school. He called him names, called him quirkless, and Midoriya flinched around him like he was expecting him to hit. Shinso had never been so tempted to brainwash someone to drown their hot sauce, but that would have to wait another time. Right now, Midoriya took priority. So with a mental vendetta, said Shinso grabbed his tray and joined the queue to tidy it away, before running through the halls after his friend. Then he checked Class 1C, where he was nowhere to be found. By the time he had returned for afternoon registration, so had Midoriya. He was sitting at his desk, headphones on, jotting notes in his quirk analysis book like nothing had happened at all. Shinso tapped on the side of Midoriya's desk to try to get his attention. That didn't work, probably because the volume of his music was so loud that Shinso could almost hear it. So he was forced to get out of his seat, tap Midoriya on his shoulder, and sit back down again, so it could participate in the conversation. "What happened back there?" Shinso questioned. Midoriya blinked at him like he wasn't quite sure what he was talking about. "Nothing," was all he signed in reply. It was nothing. You jumped like you had an electric shock and almost ran away from that guy." Midoriya just shrugged. Shinso would have pressed for more information, but President Mike had just started the register, and Shinso wasn't too sure how much this Midoriya would want his teacher knowing. Shinso kept forgetting that they weren't the only ones in the school who knew sign language. The rest of the day continued as normal, much unlike the Wednesday the week before, which was rather disjointed thanks to the attack at the USJ. But as soon as the final lesson came to a close, Shinso grabbed Midoriya Midoriya's backpack, stopping him from leaving. Catching the gist of the scenario, Midoriya sat back down and waited glumly, headphones landing around his neck as the two of them waited for the rest of the class to leave. Unfortunately, things didn't quite work out that way because the small almighty President Oshi watched them like a hawk and refused to leave until they did, ushering them out of the classroom. Shinso grudgingly gave Midoriya's backpack as they met Uraraka and Ira by the front gate. Stammered Midoriya. Just before they started walking, Shinso and I have a project due tomorrow. He lied blatantly. Shinso tried to keep the shock out of his expression. So we're going to stay behind today for a while. You two can go without us. The stutter was back, showing how nervous he seemed. Oh, that's okay, Uraraka smiled. You've been awfully busy recently, haven't you? She acknowledged. You seem to stay behind at school a lot. A diligent response to the amount of work our general studies peers receive, Ira exclaimed. No matter. We will see the two of you tomorrow. So the only sane hero students Shinso had encountered so far let them be. Shinso turned to Midoriya, only to see that he had already started walking away, not back to the main campus, but down a path to the side of it. Frowning, he trailed his green-haired friend as he walked in silence. Eventually, they reached the sports hall that their class often used. Shinso was rather surprised when Midoriya walked right up to it and opened the door. He wasn't sure if they were allowed in here, but he didn't question it and followed Midoriya inside. When Shinso turned back around after closing the door, he saw Midoriya on the floor pulling out the containment of his bag. He just stared back at him as he huffed around for a while, flipping through his various notebooks, messing with what seemed to be a portable speaker, fiddling with his phone. Shinso sat down in front of him, crossing his legs, and tossed his own bag aside. Midoriya, he started. His friend looked up before immediately averting his gaze. Midoriya, what's wrong? What's going on with you? Shinso frowned, and he let the question spill out of his mouth. Usually he was quite patient. He held back from his shy friend, but he just couldn't take it any longer. What happened with that guy at lunch? He said he knew you from middle school, and you ran away from him like you were scared he set you on fire. He was kidding, obviously, but then he doubted himself, remembering Bakugo's explosion-themed hero costume. Did he bully you, Midoriya? He still wouldn't look at him, twiddling his thumbs and refusing to raise his head. Shinso had a sinking feeling he was right. He was quieter than a mouse when he spoke. We live in the same neighborhood. We used to go on playdates together when we were little. We went to the same nursery, same kindergarten, same middle school. Everywhere we go, we're always together. This is the first time we're not in the same class. He was my first friend, my only friend. Some friend. There was a slight smile across Midoriya's face now, but that was a sad one. I was there when he manifested his quirk. He was there when I didn't manifest mine. A friendship turned sour. A kid who thought he was his best friend, better than Midoriya, his childhood friend, the quirkless wimp Deku. He called you something, Shinso frowned, recalling the nickname. Midoriya gave a small chuff of laughter again. There was no happiness within it. Deku. It's a different way of pronouncing the kanji of my first name. It's supposed to mean useless. You aren't useless, Midoriya. Shinso shot back at him. You are far from useless as you can get. His smile didn't change. It was like he didn't believe him. Thanks, he murmured anyway. They sat there in silence for a moment. Shinso considered messaging his parents. He could be there for a while, as long as it would take. He didn't want to leave Midoriya like this. He told me to jump off a roof once, Midoriya said. Shinso snapped his head up, his breath hitching. Midoriya just picked up at the concrete below him, said that if I wanted a quirk so badly that I should see if I get one in my next life. Take a swan dive off the roof of the building. You didn't seriously consider it? His voice had grown a little louder now. Midoriya finally met Shinso's eyes. He stayed like that for a moment, mulling the question over in his mind before speaking once more. No, but I did wonder if anyone would miss me. I suppose I knew he'd regret saying it. Knew he would pull his hero plans out from under his feet if I decided to. He gulped. But I didn't. Of course I didn't. Kachan will make a great hero. I know he will. Shinso hesitated, not sure what to say. Kachan was what came out of his mouth. Another laugh. My nickname for him. I'm Deku and he's Kachan. You mean you just decided to call him a cutesy name and he settled with useless? Midoriya shrugged. I suppose. Screw hot sauce. Shinso was already plotting a more painful death for Bakugo. People would miss you if you were gone, Shinso added, realizing that he should have said that a little earlier. Midoriya didn't reply. It hurt Shinso more than any words could have. But then he added, I guess it's a little different story now. Shinso wasn't so sure what else to say. He knew Midoriya's past must have been bad if it led him mute. But for some reason, he'd never expected this. Shinso, I'm not quirkless. Okay, what? What do you mean you're not quirkless? Said Shinso, furrowing his brow. Where the hell did this came from? I didn't lie to you, he stammered. I didn't lie to anyone. I never said that you were lying, Shinso interjected, raising his hand to calm him down. That was the last thing I expected you to say. You're not quirkless? You know that girl from lunch? He continued. Shinso could not see where this was going, but he nodded unsurely anyway. That's Mina, continued Midoriya. She joined my dance class recently. Okay, this was just getting weirder and weirder. Your dance class, repeated Shinso. Midoriya flushed red and ducked his head again. You dance? Shinso blinked. No, I'm not insulting you. I just didn't expect it. Wow, you are full of surprises today. He laughed again. A real laugh, this one. It was small and quiet, but it was real, not pitiful or sad. I really like music and dance. I always have fun. I didn't know why. It was something different. Everyone there was always the same place I was. No one made fun of me or pressured me to speak. So she saw you dance and that's how she recognized you? Midoriya nodded, but then shook his head again. Not this time. I didn't dance. He twiddled his thumbs again, looking up at Shinso nervously. I played the guitar? Right. Shinso just nodded repeatedly. Okay. Again, unexpected. But cool. I can't play the guitar. I'd probably, break it. Midoriya's smile grew wider. I did break it. You broke your guitar? Well, kind of. It's a little burnt now. Shinso narrowed his eyes. You set fire to your guitar? No. Midoriya stuttered before wavering and adding, well, yes, accidentally. And this is during dance class? Oh, no. This was before dance class? About Yeah, just about a week ago now, I didn't set fire to my guitar. I set fire to the rain. Shinso couldn't help but smile at how ridiculous that sounded. You set fire to the rain. Midoriya laughed again, a lot louder this time. He was getting more confident with his confusing storytelling. Like in the song. You mean like the song set fire to the rain? Yeah. I'm sorry, but you've lost me. It's my quirk. Your quirk is setting fire to the rain. No, the music is. The music set fire to the... Oh, you know what I mean, Midoriya exclaimed. I really don't, Shinso replied, laughing through the confusion of it all. Here, look, Midoriya continued, opened his phone, tapped a few things, and slid it across the floor towards him. Shinso picked it up. He saw a music playlist and narrowed his eyes again, glancing between Midoriya and his phone in bewilderment. Don't bother plugging it into the speaker, instructed Midoriya, but just choose a song, any of them. I don't mind which. Patience. Have patience with Midoriya. Good things come with time. And so Shinso sighed and scrolled through the playlist, struggling to figure out what the songs had in common. They were just karaoke versions, he noticed, some covers, some not. What caught his eye the most, though, was Midoriya's title of the playlist. Arsenal. Yeah, not at all worrying. He hesitated at one of the songs he recognized, looking at Midoriya, who seemed a little terrified. Shinso tapped on the song and set his phone down before turning up the volume to its highest setting, waiting to see what Midoriya would do. Titanium, by David Guetta, Sia. As the music began, Shinso watched as Midoriya crossed his legs, reaching an almost meditative pose, and closed his eyes, and then began taking a final peek at Shinso through one eye. A wobbly smile grew across his face, and opened his mouth, and he sang. You shouted out, but I can't hear what words you say. Momentarily forgetting Midoriya's confusing story revolving suicide, dancing, guitar playing, and setting fire to the rain, Shinso's jaw dropped as his selectively mute friend sang to him, and his voice was beautiful. I'm criticized, but all your bullets ricochet. He opened his eyes again, just enough to see Shinso's shocked expression. His smile grew a little wider before he closed his eyes tightly once more, like he was scared for opening them, but still that smile continued to light up the room as his voice echoed around it. Just think, all this time, the world had been missing out on such a voice because of the harassment it had been succumbed to. The very thought made Shinso's blood boil, but now that was not the time for anger. Right now, his brain was still trying to figure out what the heck was going on. He was singing, sure, it was incredible, but why? He mentioned setting fire to the rain and sang the song setting fire to his guitar. No, the rain setting fire to his guitar. Wait, the music did it. That's what he said, right? So then if set fire to the rain, set the rain, all right? You shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. And Shinso's eye grew even wider as the skin beneath Midoriya's uniform became rigid, as the texture crept up his neckline and down to his arms, only to reveal it was turning silver, like he was being coated in a metallic substance that dripped over every inch of his body. He opened his eyes once more, and they too were made of titanium. I am titanium. Shinso pushed himself backward as the silver Midoriya reached forward to turn off his phone, but of course his metal skin wouldn't work on the device, so Shinso bravely made himself take it off him and turn it off himself. Midoriya's grin wavered as he stopped singing now. There, they were sitting in silence. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Slowly but surely, the metal was creeping away from him same way it had appeared, like wax melting from a candle. It took a moment for Shinso to get himself together. Holy shoot. That was what he managed. Midoriya blinked at him as the last of the metal faded. That's your quirk?" Shinso gaped. Midoriya scratched the back of his neck sheepishly. "Yeah, I haven't figured out what to call it yet. You... Shinso looked back and forth from Midoriya and his phone again. Suddenly, the title Arsenal made a lot more sense. "Your singing does that?" You can imagine my surprise when Set Fire to the Rain actually set fire to the rain, Midoriya grinned. Shinso jumped to his feet. "You have a quirk!" "I know!" Midoriya leapt up too, punching the air excitedly before faltering and turning back to Shinso. You're not freaked out?" "Freaked out?" Shinso repeated. "Yeah, just a little, but only because that was the most stupid, awesome thing I've seen a quirk do since I made... Actually, we're not going to talk about that. Midoriya, this is incredible. You really think so?" Yeah, are you kidding me?" Because, well, there's one more thing I need to tell you," said Midoriya, tensing up his shoulders the way he did when he was scared that what someone might think or say. "What did you do?" "It wasn't me," Midoriya replied quickly. It was President Mike." "Right." He found me practicing here last week and, well, did you hear about Canary?" Shinso frowned. He heard the name being flung around, but it wasn't sure about it. "Is that a new hero?" Midoriya blushed for some reason. No, it's me." "You're Canary?" Shinso questioned. "What do you mean?" Well, President Mike convinced me that, to improve my confidence, I could go on his radio show, but I didn't want anyone to know who I was, so, Canary's my code name." Shinso smiled. "Your hero name." Midoriya flushed even redder, waving his arms around as he spoke. No, I mean, not yet. And the puzzle pieces connected together. "So let me get this straight," Shinso grinned. "You're building up your confidence on the radio show so you can sing in front of a crowd at the sports festival and get into the hero course?" Midoriya hesitated. "Maybe." "Well, you know there are 2 spaces open in Class 1A, Shinso acknowledged. He didn't need to say any more. Midoriya flung himself at Shinso in a grateful hug. Shinso hugged him back, grinning. The hero course isn't going to know what hit it. That was it for this chapter. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to check out Cloud9 and 3/4 on AO3. They have the Canary. They have more fanfics, and I haven't read them all, but they're really good. So make sure to check them out. I'll put the link into the description, and I'll see you next week. Bye.